Recording is starting. You're all set. We're all set.
All right, good evening. We're going to start our committee meeting. Trustee Cushman.
Thank you. Call to order the Education and Planning Committee on March 1st at 4:30 p.m. And first order of business is the review of the minutes. Is there any comments or corrections or adjustments to the minutes from anyone? Hearing none, we'll move on. Dr. Urbatus, enrollment, if you please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Carol.
So in your packet is the enrollment update as of February 17th. I'm going to give you an update relative to numbers as of this past Friday on February 24th. We continue to show improvement in terms of head count from the 17th to the 24th. So total credit enrollment, that includes full-time, part-time, and Gemini enrollment. Head count is now down 1.7% in comparison to being down 5.4% on the 17th. FTE in the same category is now up 1% over the line. Yeah,
Good.
compared to being down 1.5% on the 17th. When you add in non-credit state aidable, overall enrollment is now down 0.7%, and FTE is up 1.2%. And Gemini will continue to enroll students through the end of the month. Any questions?
That was the question. That was my question. Any other questions for Dr. Urbatus?
Not a question, but a comment, but it's a testament that there's a need and a thank you for the people in all the different areas where we have enrollment that come from both the accredited side to then the state aid non-credible side, which is your GEDs and your English second language and things of that nature. And the work that we're doing for the community is important. So it's thank you to a lot of people that are involved, from faculty, staff, and folks like Carol and her team. They're helping bring people in, and same with the workforce career solutions team. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nye. Duly noted. Any other questions or comments?
And also our Gemini.
Yeah, the Gemini.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Moving forward, we'll, Lisa Thomas for supporting students executive function coaching.
Here you go. Afternoon. The big button. My name is Lisa Thomas. I am the Director of Academic Success and Access Programs, which we oversee tutoring, disability services, academic support, education opportunity programs. So that is under the umbrella of academic success. And I'm coming to you this evening to talk about our our executive function coach. So why and what is this? We discovered that we had a lot of students who were entering FLCC and were registering with our disability services office that had neurodivergent needs. So what we decided to do, Perkins had a spot and we asked for a part-time position through the Perkins grant in the academic year of 2021. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see it because of the thing. This is the structure of academic success and access programs, the organizational chart. Our executive coach, she also goes by educational coach, that's why I keep calling her that, is Lynn Sassenhausen. So she's under disability services, our coordinator, Melissa Souls. So she works with Melissa to identify students who would better be served using her specific skills and support. So what she does with those students, it's students who are on the autism spectrum or students with disabilities who have impaired executive functioning needs. So what she does with them is she handles getting their test taking skills, helping them with time management. She serves as a resource as well. Okay. Okay, so what's different? You know, what's different? Why would we have her? So what she does is she meets weekly with students. They have appointments. She meets with them to go over what has been going on in their life, as far as their classwork, what could they be doing better? And of course, like I said before, she does the skill development, time management, study plans, how to take a test, test taking skills, all of that. So she does that supper club each week. So she has I call it her following. She has a certain number of students and they meet every Thursday evening for dinner at 6 o'clock. She works Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 6:30. That's most of the time when the students are available. That's when they want to come see her and that's when they seem to do their best work. So she meets with them every Thursday for supper club. They all bring a dish to pass or whatever, and they just sit and talk about how they can better themselves or how they could, feel more at ease in a college setting, because a lot of times students with neurodivergent needs really don't feel like they fit in and belong. So with this particular group that she focuses on, they feel like they're in their own little group. She has studies groups specifically designed for those students. She breaks them up into year 1, year 2, or continuing. And what they do is they go into our learning resource room. They're doing their homework. She's able to answer questions or, redirect them where necessary. So that's good for them as well. She sends a weekly newsletter out, giving tips and tricks and things for them to remember or to work on, which is great. They love that. And what we're doing at the end of this semester, we're going to send out a student satisfaction survey just to see if there's anything that we're missing in that area or that students would want to see that we haven't already done yet. So by the numbers, our disability services has registered over 300 plus unique learners this semester. So out of all of that, I don't know if you can see it, but these are Lynn's numbers. She started in March of 2021. She had 42 appointments from 19 unique students. Fall, she increased that to 92 appointments, 34 students. Again, in spring, 92 appointments, 30 unique students. But last semester, fall, she had 229 appointments. Granted, it was the same unique 28 students, but they came back 229 times to meet with her, to talk to her, to get the skills that they need to be developed. She also serves as a resource when she's talking to students and they say, oh, I need help in math, then she'll reach out to the math center. She'll try and get them a tutor. If they say that I need to take this certain class for spring semester, she'll help them reach out to their advisor and show them how to do that. The impact is monumental. It's we can see students who want to come and want to be there. We see students who need this skill and need this expertise, this help, and they are getting that help. We would love to, of course, broaden it, but for right now, we're doing what we can with what we have. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great thing that Perkins was able to let us do that, and we hope to continue. Is there any questions for me?
Any questions?
It's a great service.
It sounds like a wonderful, wonderful service, and I'm sure we're going to be able to see impact in students that would have dropped but don't do it. Are you able to identify them going in that they are potential to
Right.
high risk, if you
When they
will?
meet with Melissa So's the Disability Services Coordinator to register, she looks at their diagnosis or IEP or 504, and she can kind of tell who would need to meet with Lynn. So she puts them on her caseload. Lynn sends out an email saying, hey, they're gonna be great. I can help you. Come on in. What we would love to do data-wise, we would love to track those students to see how they're faring, to see how they're doing, if the help Lynn has provided is substantial, how are they feeling? So I believe most of it will be a social impact and learning how to be, around everyone with skills than more so of a number.
Right.
Trustee Cushman, we do track broadly any student who is registered with disability services. They are more likely to be retained.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Excellent. This is very, very positive. Ms. Ken, I have some very important resolutions to consider. Okay.
Good evening. I have the pleasure to present to you two nominees for emeritus distinction tonight. Warren White and April DeVoe. April DeVoe, or Professor April DeVoe, retired in 2018. In your packet, you will see a lot of wonderful things that she has done. I'd just like to highlight a few. April was a mentor as well as an instructor here. She championed STEM, women in STEM. She led the computing. She was the chair of the computer science department. She took that department from the growth of the tech industry in the 90s, took it through its transitions in the 2000s and beyond. As you all know, changes happen at lightning speed with technology, and April stayed on top of it. And she made sure that her students knew and were prepared for the latest technological advancements in the computer science industry. She sat on numerous college boards at other schools. She worked closely with RIT to form an articulation agreement for the gaming and program design, the game programming design program. She also worked in various committees. She co-chaired the promotion committee, was on the curriculum committee, and I could go on and on and on with the list of things that April was involved in here at the college. When she retired, she left behind a program and an institution that is far stronger, far healthier, and far more successful at fulfilling its mission. And because of the work that April has done, she is more than deserving of the emeritus status. The second nominee I have before you tonight is Assistant Professor Warren White, who retired in 2021. Again, in your packet, you have lots of wonderful information about him. I'd like to point out that this was Warren's second career. He came to us after a very successful career in broadcast journalism. And if you watch Channel 10 at all, sometimes you will see Warren when they show some of their historical reporting. Because of his career in broadcast journalism, he brought forward to the classroom real life experiences for the students. He was highly regarded as an instructor and sought out by students regularly. He was involved in curricular revisions and was sure to keep the new media program up to date. Outside the classroom, he took students to WXXI during Laker Day events. He assisted in live basketball broadcasts. He was always at the information tables on opening days. He went to all sorts of events here on campus. He supported NAPA in their Spring Arts Festival. He served as an advisor for the Radio Club, championed the Communication Club, Phi Theta Kappa, and on and on and on. He also moderated debates on campus. One of the things that I learned about Warren that I did not know until the emeritus came through was that he spent time mentoring our student speakers for graduation. Took them through tone, topic, all of those things. And even would spend the Friday before graduation with them as they stood on the stage and practiced their speeches. In sum, due to his excellence in the classroom, his dedication to his department, his service to the college, of course, his service to the students. Assistant Professor White deserves recognition of earning emeritus status. Are there any questions? Unfortunately, they are not here this evening.
Oh, very impressive. Gonna miss him.
There, and just as an aside, knowing both of them, they are fabulous. Very pleased that their names have been recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassie. Dr. Orloff, will now come up for administrative appointment recommendation.
I'm going to step forward and, as you know,
Please.
You need your boxes.
yes, my prejudice against the anti-short person podium. Members of the Board of Trustees, Mr. President, I'm very excited to present to you for permanent appointment Christopher Baldoni, who is here along with members of the APCI staff and his wife Kate, and we're very happy to have them here. I included in your packet a memo. There aren't really words to tell you how excited I am to present to you all of the wonderful things that he brings to our team and really to this college. He joined us as a student worker, and I think that is such an exciting thing, right? Is that not just exactly what it is that we do here at FLCC? He finished his degree in computer science, and boy, were we lucky to snatch all of that talent up and be able to have that as a part of our new experiment in APCI. And his programming skills have been such an important part of us trying to get a handle on the data-driven decision-making that you see pretty much every meeting that I'm here speaking with you about all of the important things we're trying to do here at FLCC. And it is complicated and it's not easy. And Chris digs into it and he gets into a lot of different data sources and where some people will get tied up with rabbit holes and problems. He digs in, he figures it out in a calm and unassuming manner and finds us answers. And we just couldn't do this work without him. And we're just very, very lucky to have him. But I also just want to point out some of the behind the scenes work that we don't always see, right? The work that is pretty on the paper that we get into here is what's the final product. But there's a lot of behind the scenes work that is hard and high stakes and struggling that happens. And a lot of that happened during our accreditation process and also during COVID. And as you all know, the compliance requirements around COVID were very significant. And they also had very, very significant consequences for our students, particularly around the vaccine mandate and the required deregistration of students if they were not compliant with the vaccine mandate. And that was all Chris. And you might not have known that, but that was Chris in there figuring out if students were compliant and pulling data time after time and getting all of that information. And I am not kidding you, and I put this in the memo because it is a great story to demonstrate his commitment to this college. But he was on the phone with me in the middle of quarantine at 11:30 at night, telling me and re-pushing data to get me the most up-to-date information. So we did not have to deregister even one student who was out of compliance. I never asked him to do that. He just did it because he didn't want students to have any ill effect or to suffer any ill effect. That kind of dedication, I wish we could bottle it, but we're lucky to have it in Christopher Baldoni, and I therefore heartily recommend him for permanent appointment. We are lucky to have him, and I'm very, very grateful to have him on my team. Chris, thank you so much for being here. We're very grateful to have you. So, thank you.
Any questions?
One comment, Christopher, thank you for taking all those analytics and making them digestible for this board. We need all the help we can get. Thank you. And we move on to a strategic thought presentation on association housing audit highlights. Dr. Chamberlain?
Oh, yeah. No problem. Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Chamberlain. I'm the new executive director of the Finger Lakes Association. Not that new though. I'm almost at 10 months. So got this audit down under my belt, which is nice. So today I'm just going to present some key takeaways and highlights from the audit that we just completed. It's a big button, right?
It seldom works, don't worry.
Oh, there we go. Got it. All right. So this year we did do a new RFP process for an auditing firm. And we decided to go with RDG Partners out of Rochester, New York. And I was very happy with the service we got from them. They were very easy to work with. They made this first year easy for me to transition into my role and to work into the audit stuff. So.
I have shared this out, I forgot.
All right, you good? Okay. So that's our auditors this year. So to dive right into the audit snapshot, what I did was kind of compare the different units of the association from the audit this year to the audit we had previously before. So with auxiliary services, you'll see that our total revenue, the total expenses for a total net income of $1 million. So what is different about this is when you look at the total other income, this is extremely high. Usually you don't have your total other income that high, and that's because of two reasons. The first one is because they have the PPP loan, and so those funds we did get the year before, but they went onto this year's audited financials. So that was a big chunk of it, of just shy of 400,000. The other part of that is we did close down the bookstore from a self-operating service this year to a contracted service out. So the funds that we did have in the bookstore unit were transferred over to auxiliary services and placed under other income as well. So that's why that's a little bit higher. And then compared to last year, we were in the red by 913,000. There's two reasons for this. The association did transfer 850,000 to the bookstore into child services the previous year to kind of dig them out of the issues with COVID. So that's the difference from last year. With the child care center, I don't know if you can see the revenue up there. We have 428,000. Other income is in the red by 11,000, and total expenses 408. So we ended in the black with 8,000, which if anyone knows, I'm super excited over that we're in the black. So I just want to share that. Last year we did end at zero, and that's because auxiliary services, part of this 850,000, did subsidize a child care center just shy of 1,500. So we'd be in zero, not the red. I swear I'm not technology illiterate. Oh, it's, I was gonna say, this is not even there. All right, so moving on to athletics, our total revenue was 406,000, total expenses 365. We ended in the black with 41,000, which is great compared to being in the red the previous year by 15,000. Boosters, which as anyone knows is the fundraising that those teams do and then spend on jerseys, trips, national championship expenses and whatnot. We did have a total net income this year of 8,000 in the red. That's no surprise because it is money they're just fundraising and using. They're not actually bringing in a lot of money for other expenses, but doing better than the previous year with that. Try now. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So then we move into one of our bigger units, association housing. Our total revenue was 2.5 million. Other expenses is 238,000 for total expenses of 1.8 million. So for our total net income, it was 937,000. This seems like a great number because it seems that we have $1 billion in association housing, and that's not typically what this actually represents.
So with association housing, we have a swap agreement attached to our bond with Key Bank. The swap agreement moderates the risk associated with the interest rate changes. So Key Bank is required to provide us a mid-market mark for all swap transitions. And I know this is very financial, so I apologize. But the gain on interest rate swap represents the evaluation of the swap based on these estimated mid-market rates. So in other words, this gain on interest rate swap, which is $765,000, could hypothetically be what we could sell our swap for if we ever wanted to in the future. So this number is not intended to serve as an actual evaluation or appraisal of a transaction, but KeyBank is required to give us this number. So this number right here, even though we are putting it into our total net income, this is actually not real dollars that we have in our bank. There's not nothing we could spend on it. So what I did was take out that $765,000 from the total net income and did an adjusted net income of this is the true number we have in association housing at the end of this audit. Which is great compared to the year before, because we were in the red by 436,000. I've also put a note over here that the bookstore, we did close it down, like I said before, and those funds of 816,000 were transferred over to auxiliary services. So rolling this all up together with the association, our net income was 1.2 from all the different units put together. But remember, this is inflated by two reasons: the PPP loan that we got previously the year before that we already spent, and swap evaluation, which I explained is not really funds we have in our bank account at the moment, for a really adjusted net income of $476,565 at the end of the audit. So then looking at other parts of the audit, I wanted to kind of show you what we have for cash available. So big cash, 2022, we have 3.1, 2021, we have 2.5. So we're doing more cash, which is really great. I also want to put in here the restricted cash. Restricted cash represents our security deposits. So when the students come and stay in housing, they pay this security deposit. If they completely don't trash their rooms and we have to do all this maintenance, we give it back to them. If not, we keep it for repairs. So I just wanted to share what that means, because this also means more security deposits mean we have a higher enrollment in housing. We have more students living in the housing we did the previous year. So that's a positive note right there. So overall takeaways from this audit was RDG found no issues with the internal control structure of the association. Our cash flow has increased from this year from the previous year. Our total liabilities actually stayed the same over the last two audit terms. And our long-term liabilities have actually gone down, which is a really positive note. And then lastly, our financials have improved from the previous year, and we are heading in a very positive direction compared to what we were in COVID times. From there, I wanted to share just a few highlights about the association. So in fall 2022, housing was able to reach 347 residents out of the 353 to fill it. So we almost completely filled. We like to say we kissed our occupancy, which is amazing, because a lot of other community colleges are not having that type of result. Also, fun thing about the swap, because you didn't learn about it enough when I just blurted out whole financial class at you, was Carol and I got to really work on a swap amendment. So if anyone wondering, the U.S. market switched from the SOFR market to the library market, and Key Bank came to us saying, do you want to sell your swap and amend it, or do you want to amend it? Do you want to terminate, or do you want to amend it? And so we had to look at, okay, we have our swap till 2025. So are we going to give up our fixed interest rates and then see what the interest rates are going to happen? Or are we going to take the money and see what we could do with that? Or are you going to amend it? So after a lot of research and a lot of reaching out to different people, thank you, Ken, and some other people as well, we decided that we were going to amend our swap for the next 2 years that we had left on it. And I think we made a good choice because interest rates are climbing through the roof right now. So I'm happy we did amend it. For spring 2023, we almost have a full enrollment in the child care center. So a lot of our classrooms are near capacity, which is great. For spring 2023, we had 100% textbook adoptions. So thank you to Cassie and Beth Johnson for really working with the bookstore people to make sure our textbooks adoptions are in. And that just means that faculty members are submitting the textbook adoption so the bookstore can order those textbooks for the students. So it's a really high number. And then lastly, in fall of 2022, our catering rates equaled pre-COVID numbers. So we would love to keep that up for the spring. So if there's any catering out there, we're always open to that. And that's been a really positive note as well. And then my last slide really was things that are coming up. So we are working on an association strategic plan. I've been in contact with a few people in the college with their strategic plan as well, so we can make sure both plans are running in the right direction, and the association plan will funnel into the colleges, and that we're not working on two different plans at the same time. We are going to look at more reorganizing, restructuring. Even though we are bouncing back from COVID, we have to make some really strategic decisions on how we're going to move forward. We're really going to start going more into grants and fundraising. We think those are areas we really need to push more energy and effort into. And then we will continue benchmarking survey with our peers to see where we can grow and learn from the market. And that is it.
Well done. Questions?
Just an informational question, and that is, what are the sources of revenue for the child care center?
So for the child care center, there is the cost that we get from students going there. And then we rely heavily on grants as another revenue stream coming in as well. So those are kind of our two right there.
Okay.
And unfortunately, with the fees that we do come in with students staying at the center, we only have so many spots open. Because if we increase more spots, we have to get more staff. And so the overhead grows as well. So we're kind of stuck in a little bit of a rotating problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well done.
Thank you.
That's good news. Thank you.
Yeah.
And with that, now that I have two members of the committee here, I can ask for a motion to adjourn. Donna, thank you. And a second. Inga, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, trustee Cushman. Trustee Axel, you're gonna do the, meeting
Yes.
tonight. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh,
Because, trustee Martin's not with us. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll call the meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting to order for March 1st. And just note that Committee Chairman Martin asked me to pinch hit for him this evening, which I was glad to do. The first order of business is a review and approval of the February 1st minutes. If there are any comments or questions regarding those? If not, we'll move on. The 22-23 operating budget update and finance report, and Ken is here, okay?
So largely, I want to use this chance to talk about a few things, but largely unchanged. This is going to be a pretty quick report. We're still going to do better than our projected loss, still at a projected loss. But I do want to mention that the main event for us is going to be next time. We expect the auditors to be here for both the single audit for the financial aid and the stimulus funds, as well as the schools audit to be presented to the committee. And I think that's on schedule for the 31st of March. So that we spoke to the auditors today and all seems well from that standpoint. The college audit is pretty much, they're not asking us any more questions. And there's a few hanging chads for the other audit, but that seems to be okay. We're still expecting the same as we talked about at the retreat. I do want to talk a little bit about this one particular item here. Because we're gonna present to you in the next board meeting, a resolution to change our capital policy. Talk about that a little bit. And I've been doing some research on it. And it turns out that in 2013, the SUNY implemented a capitalization policy, moving their thresholds for capitalization. I'll talk about what that means. To $5,000, but if it was for state operated campuses, like the 4 years. Many of the two-year colleges followed suit. We did not. And what it means for us is, this report will always be the same. But this, number down here, there is some equipment. Well, I've lost it now. I'm getting too close, I guess. There's some equipment. Here it is. There's some equipment budgeted at 892 and we've spent $221,000. That equipment right there represents the budgeted amount of money that we tell the departments, go ahead and you can buy your equipment. And it can be equipment of any sort. For example, there might be a car in there for the campus, right? Now, we know that from a pure auditing standpoint, that car is not really operating expense, it's capital equipment. But SUNY doesn't treat it that way. SUNY says, here's, other than, it's interesting because we've talked about this a little bit before, other than the stuff that the colleges, the county's helping us pay for, the buildings, we track all that operating expenses through here. But at the end of the year, the auditors will take whatever that is out of there and they'll capitalize it. We won't see it. It'll be in the audited reports that we see next month, but we don't track it periodically. Anyways, historically, for example, last year we had $1 million in this category, a big number of equipment. We budgeted, obviously our budget's reduced for this year. We budgeted $1 million in there. There was 245 items. Only 48 of those were at $5,000 or more. There were 519 assets that were of lower value. And so if we were to move the capitalization number up to 5,000 instead of 1,500, which is where we are, when we do the audited statements, they will take that money out at the 5,000 level only and move it on to the audited statements. Now, why do we care? I'm excited about this because we spend a lot of time tracking those assets down.
Yeah, a lot less work.
Reporting, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes on to track those and put reports in, and there's systems and all that, and they gotta reconcile them. And we don't have to do that. At least the SUNY is telling us we don't have to do that, and we don't think we need to do that. So if we move that number up, there'll be much fewer assets for us to track and to reconcile and make adjustments for. And from a reporting standpoint and from a SUNY reporting standpoint, it won't make any difference to us. It's only for the audited statements or operations. So anyway, sorry for the long story, but there's going to be a resolution next board meeting to move our capital policy from 1,500 to 5,000, which basically means we will take less out of this bucket to be moved onto capital in the audited financial statements. Management reports are going to stay the same. These are, it's called these management reports. And it was interesting because as we're interviewing the CFOs, I'm basically saying, gee, what do you think if you see a set of financial management reports that aren't GAAP? And they say, well, what do you mean they're not GAAP? And that's an example. This is not GAAP, but it's SUNY. So, you know, we're going to follow the SUNY requirements on how we can report that stuff. So that's kind of where we are in the finance, and just as a room warning about next month.
Anybody have any questions? Just one.
Yeah.
What's the impact on the audited fund balance when we move that line from 1,500 to 5,000?
There will not be any,
Won't be any? Just
because it's just pure operating.
Yeah, okay.
It's pure operating, it's per operating capital. I want to speak through that one. Yeah. There should be there's no difference.
Okay.
Yeah. What is a little bit, tricky and why I'm hesitating a little bit is, you know, we've been tracking, remember I showed you at the board meeting, we were tracking that fund balance, how it's moving around 10 million up and down a little bit. And these are management reporting numbers that I shared, which is what I'm picking the number off of here. The audited financial statements are going to be a little different because they're going to have depreciation, they're going to have capital, they're going to have all that stuff in there. And the fund balance will look a little different, and I'm interested to see what it looks like.
Okay, good.
So.
Any other questions on that topic? If not, Ken, you want to address the facilities update?
Sure.
First?
One, you see if there's a facilities, update in your package here. Nothing new in that regard, other than, I'm expecting that back in, the board meeting after next, that we actually will be talking about the capital budget for the next 3 years. And so we're gonna be presenting the numbers for historical spend and future spend at the, May board meeting. I do want to mention though, that what you're gonna see at the next board meeting again, is we're working on the, Department of Labor sublease in the Newark facility. We talked about that last month. And the Department of Labor, is offering us, $66,000 to sublet a portion of our facility, which is based on the square footage is a good deal. It's 3,500 square feet out of 18,000, and we pay 340, so we'll get a subsidy of 66,000. The rub has been, and which we should be expecting, is the Department of Labor does not want to contract or cannot contract directly with the lessor, with the owner of the property. They must go through us. There's a $308,000 build out for the facility in order to build the facility out for them to accommodate that. So they're gonna, if we're gonna go ahead with this, they're gonna put us in the middle. We have the contracts for this, is a percent completion contract, where we will contract with the landlord to do the work and then be reimbursed by the Department of Labor. So we're effectively going to be, it's a construction contract for us to build this out. 6 months of build, $308,000. And that's the complexity here. Other than that, it would be a straightforward subleasing and say, gee, of course, let's do it. So if there's an issue with that, I don't know how to call the question. If there's an issue with that, we should talk about it now, because it's in the next month or so, we're gonna be working on getting all the documentation ready to share. That's gonna say, here's the sublease. Sublease is quite easy. The lease is quite easy. The only complexity is that $308,000 purchase of a fit out that we're gonna get reimbursed for.
The only question I would have is the lag time on the
On
reimbursement.
the reimbursement, there's gonna be some lag time. Fortunately, the window is 180 days for the construction. So there will be a lag time. We need to work on, the contractor's asking for percent completion contract, and the Department of Labor is looking for a substantial completion payment. So there'll be some timing there, yeah.
Can you remind me what the length of the contract is for?
Great question. This is for the lease. We're leasing through July 1st, July 31st, 2026. So there's basically a 2.5 year sublease at, for us, it's a $66,000 benefit. So it's like $150,000 benefit to us by subleasing the facility over that time period. Well, it's the economic benefit. The other benefit is to be collaborating with the Department of Labor in a facility that we can leverage, hopefully, with the presence. So,
Thank you.
not sure how to call the question.
Well-
We'll be for next month.
So the real question is, will we get reimbursed by the time the lease is up?
Well,
Or sooner.
yeah, right.
No, we want to, but will
Yeah,
we?
the hang up will be, come August 31st, we'll be telling the Department of Labor, we just completed the project, give us the $308,000, because we will have already paid probably 250 of it.
Right.
And they'll be waiting to move in, at that point. And that'll be where the crunch period is. Oh, you didn't finish the work. Oh, we did finish the work. The good news is the Department of Labor wants to put their engineer in as the architect. There's an architect concept in the contract, which basically means the architect signs off on the completion. So if the Department of Labor is involved in okaying the completion process, then we should have some level of comfort that they've agreed that the work is being done. And it's complicated. That's where we are. Right now, we're gonna chase the opportunity.
Yes.
It'll come forward, I feel, presumably as a resolution with some contracts for that.
Any other comments or questions regarding that? If not, you want to address the bid acceptance and budget transfer?
Yeah, I recall last month, you tripped me up on the question about
Sorry.
the resolution. Turned out that that particular item was a bid for, there was 3 different vendors, and it was like a cafeteria plan where you pick one from A, one from B, one from C. So they had picked this out, and one of those options had expired. So the bid was no longer quote the low bid.
Okay.
But it happened to be the only bid that we could get. I mean, it was the best bid. So we probably shouldn't have brought it forward as a resolution. We probably should have just said it because technically it was the low bid, but it wasn't. But that's what happened. It's a cafeteria plan. One of those items expired. We couldn't, it was the lowest piece. We couldn't get it. We got the second best alternative out in the package. And the county told us, or at least we felt that we needed to bring it up as a resolution rather than for information. In hindsight, maybe that was not the right way to approach it.
Okay.
But we do have for information on this one, which is the janitorial services. The prior contract expired and we did the right thing. We went out with the county, had 3 bids, got the low bid. And that one is in your package. And the other was a budget transfer, where we were, Cassidy was actually taking some of her people and helping to support some online program development. So she was moving money around to help support online program expansion.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Yep, thanks. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the committee meeting.
So moved.
Trustee Barr, trustee. A second?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving along quite quickly. Do you want to take a break or do you want to conclude the meeting? Because, I don't think it will take me much more than an hour. And then we can have something to eat after that. Sure.
I'm good with that.
Right,
The board meeting.
the board meeting.
Do we have to start at the specified time?
No, we have it, after
Okay.
the, meeting. All right. if
Wait
that-
a minute, I still need a second to adjourn the committee.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So, thank you, George.
Who else is on the
Okay,
committee? We're
We
done.
stand adjourned.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
So we have first and second and
Yeah.
approval.
Sorry.
I'm gonna call to order the meeting of March 1st, 2023 of the FLCC Board of Trustees. Our first order of business is public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to speak at this time? If you do, if you please come to the front and give your name. All right, seeing no one coming forward, I will move on. The first item will be the approval of the consent agenda. Thank you, Don. Can I have a second? Thank you, Barb. Any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. All approvals? Anybody's negative? All right. Okay, next order of business is old business. Does anybody have any old business they would wish to bring forward? All right. New business. All right, seeing none, I will go into chair's report. I have a couple trustee magazines for you. I'm gonna recommend a couple of articles which I have put little sticky notes on. Couple of interesting ones that I felt were very interesting. an article on public's attitude on higher education. As you know, especially during COVID, people are starting to think that college degree is a whole benefit. So that's a little
Worthless.
upsetting to those of us that are in the business of higher education. So there's an article up in here on that. There's also one that I thought was very interesting on international students. And we as a community college don't look into that market. I suppose we could. 31% of all foreign students come from China.
Yeah.
Yep, and 21% from India. And so I just thought that might be interesting. And Trustee, yes, you are the next one.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. The other article in there that I thought was very interesting, and Donna just went out for the
Where's Don?
I will catch her after the meeting. There is an article about board assessment, and quite a few years ago, we did do a self-assessment of the board members. And I think it would be something that the committee should look at, bring that back. And also assessment on just the board chair, and I think that's something we should look at also. And when Donna comes back, I'll put it on there and show her the articles. The other magazine, there's a nice article in here and some of the things we can do for Community College Month, which is the month of April. And also several issues on some of the new affirmative action issues being taken up by the Supreme Court. And those are things that might affect us. I'm going to pass that down to Jeff. And then I don't know if any of you got a chance to read the article that George sent us from the Times Union.
That was actually Dr. Narn.
Oh, there was Dr. Knight. Oh, I'm sure it was that.
It's okay.
Okay, must have read a few pages.
Credit where it's due.
Okay, and it was very interesting. I did not know that North Carolina had cut off its community colleges and made them their own entity.
Yeah.
And the same as it is in California. And I kind of like that idea because we all realize, especially with this latest budget, it is at the end of the total. You know, and so I don't feel very comfortable being at the end. So that might be something we might think about lobbying in the future. And there's one more thing. Yesterday, I did a presentation for one of my community groups on the Viticulture Center, and Gina Lee came in
Amazing.
and helped me with that. She did an excellent job, and this group of women were just thrilled. And it's always nice to show off our product, and I was really pleased that Gina could come in, and very, very proud of what we do here at FLCC. So that's my report. All right. Dr. Nye.
Okay. Just an update again on the major cabinet searches. The vice president for admin and finance is now in the final stages with the final candidates. First one was here yesterday. The second one is tomorrow. And the next one is March 7th. And those are going well. Thank you to Dr. Abatis for her great work on that. The second that's coming up is the provost search with the candidates being selected for initial interviews that will be going on during spring break. And then after spring break, having final candidates on campus. Thank you to Ed Kelty for his work for supporting that search. And then also we have the Chief Human Resources Officer position has been posted. Initial work's begun in that search, and the window for advertisement closes on March 10th. And then Dr. Sim Covington is working the search for that one, and we'll be having that going at the same time frame or sometime after that in April. I wanted to highlight a few things very briefly. There's some really interesting work going on with the Newark and the Geneva school districts to provide support for more intensive support for career enhancement for students wanting to get a focus degree from FLCC and also for workforce development. So they have two different career pathways for students to go through. And we've been working with those extensively with those school districts and also with HWS to create a Geneva Promise where there'd be a scholarship for students that would go to FLCC first and then move on to HWS afterwards. Also wanted to highlight the county work that we're working on right now. I've mentioned before, it's very important for us to be able to, help work with the county in ways to synergize what we're doing in ways we haven't done before. And one of those is workforce development. There's also economic development, and then working with people from social services. So we've started working with social services areas, in particular probation, and those folks that are waiting trial since the governor passed her directive on bail, to help people who are waiting to go to trial, to give them some sort of credential for them to help them as they go to trial, and to help those that are coming out of probation. The leadership of both the probation department, district attorney's office have been very excited. We actually had our first person enrolled in a GED program to do that. The programs we're looking at, our GED programs, our credentialed short-term workforce programs, and our remedial education courses for those that are interested in moving on to college and getting them into college. And if we get them into one of those two, if it's indicative of the GED program, 25%, 30% of our students that go graduate from GED programs go straight into our programs here. So that's great. I want to thank all the folks, and some of them here tonight, for the great work that's going on with the general education curriculum mandate. That's a lot of intensive work that goes on when people are doing a lot of other work at the same time frame. And then finally, the economic impact survey that I mentioned was sent back to the company because we need to separate Ontario County from the Finger Lakes region to be able to make the argument that we need to make in terms of what is the value to the county for FLCC. And that's my report. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Mike? All right, then let's move on to committee and liaison reports. Trustee Schumacher, what do we have for us tonight?
Yeah, so I'd like to share that Multicultural Week is coming up. And we're doing an International Tasting Day, International Game Day, International Women's Day, music from around the world, and Weekend Fun with Flick. And I'm really happy to share that each one of these in-person events also has an online portion, so online students get to participate. Student Corporation is contributing further articles for the 2022-2023 Campus Beautification Program. They're seeking to commission a bronze Flick mascot statue to be installed on campus. And they chose bronze because in 2 years' time, it will turn green just like our mascot's color. And this project also includes plaques around campus to describe the lore and history of Flick and how student activity fees are used on campus. Because a lot of our students don't understand where their money is going for the student activity fees. So that'll be helpful there. And then lastly, I'd like to share with you guys that the past month, I've been in the student success portion of the strategic planning committee, and we've been meeting with a lot of departments across each of the campuses. And I would like to share that we have an open forum March 20th at 12 p.m. for the student success portion of the strategic planning committee. And I would love for you guys to attend if you have anything to share. And there is another forum coming up. I do not have the date yet, but I will share that with you later.
Questions? Thank you very much. Trustee Excellence, anything with ARM?
No, the event that is really coming up is the one Ken mentioned, which is, well, the committee meeting, I think on the 31st of March, which will be the audit report.
Is that a finance committee or just the audit committee?
It's both.
It's both.
Okay.
All right, board development. Trustee Mihalik?
The committee has a meeting scheduled for March. Keep getting the date wrong. It's Friday afternoon at 4:00, March 24th.
March 24th. And I have some stuff for you today, so I want to catch it before you.
Excellent. And I'd just like to request if Penny could arrange a Zoom meeting for that, or WebEx session.
I'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
All right, association?
My written report
You
was
have your report.
emailed to everybody.
Any questions on Don's report? Foundation report? Louis, we're all set for,
Sort of, we, not second, we do have an alternative date letter.
Well, I have to put the weather report for the afternoon, it was much more.
That's great. To watch you come out all day.
Okay. So when would the alternate date be?
March 25th.
Okay. And there's also Friday?
That's a second.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Mihalik, NYCCT, any new items?
Just wanted to remind everyone that there is an April Board of Directors meeting coming up. I believe it is Saturday, April 22nd. I will verify that. You probably already got some information on that. But if anyone would like to go, it is being hosted by Hudson Valley Community College. And I certainly will be driving over, so I'm happy to take anybody with me, student, trustees. Anyone. Thank you. And there is no charge for that meeting.
And what day is that again?
I believe it is the 22nd, April 22nd.
Okay, and finally, student corp. Trustee Cushman.
The package is, it's in the package, my report, but, just a quick, say that this is their first meeting of the semester. So it's a new, there's some new leadership, some new elements in the team. As ever, I'm always impressed with how, focused and serious they are about what they do for us. And there's, they wanted me to relay that the activities committee has something special planned here in stage 14 at lunchtime on April 20th. It's a closely held secret, so I really don't know what this is all about, Nita. But,
I'm not sure either.
but they're encouraging faculty and trustees also to come to this, so.
What was the date again?
April the 20th. As soon as I know anything more, I'll certainly get it out to everybody.
It's noon.
It's around lunchtime. Mhm.
Maybe we're gonna have a special lunch.
It's very,
Serious. Okay.
very
Like on toast.
top secret. I told you I'd have to tell you.
Any other questions for Trustee Cushman? All right, at this time, I'm going to ask for two motions. One, to go into executive session under pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, and this will be to discuss personnel. And we will return to regular session after the executive session for adjournment. So could I have someone move?
So moved.
To go, thank you, Trustee Hamlin,
Second.
second, Trustee Cushman, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we will go into executive session.